Good morning, and welcome to another seditious episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. And now here's your rebellious and recalcitrant host, Voice of Doom. Good morning, good morning. And I want to wish everyone a very, very merry Insurrection Day, because I know this is a holiday that will supersede other high holy days in the liturgical calendar of the used to be the United States. And so I wore my red, white, and blue. Why did I wear it? I have no idea. Because I got no dog in the fight. But I will say a few words about the holiday and how sacrosanct and blessed is the day that we can celebrate the circumvention of the destruction of democracy. Now, a year ago, there was a certification of votes, and everybody knew that Petri dish won. And a lot of people thought there was voter fraud, and a lot of people weren't happy with the way the whole voting went down. And I know I had 8 ballots in my house sitting on the table, because each member of the family got an absentee ballot, and then we got a mail-in, some other mail-in ballot. And then we still went to vote in person. So I know there was a lot of shenanigans going on with that vote. But be that as it may, they knew there would probably be some blowback from the masses. And they wanted blowback, and they expedited blowback, and it was, it was entrapment. The whole thing was entrapment. The whole thing was planned by the D's because they wanted an insurrection. Because they could use that against their arch enemy and destroy it once and for all. Rasputin, you finally had to just put his head underwater and leave, keep it down. It was a setup, and everybody knows it. Anybody with half a brain knows it was a setup. They ushered in everybody, knowing their intentions. They didn't make any precautions for that day, even though they knew something could happen. No precautions, because they wanted it to happen. They allowed it to happen, and they enjoyed watching it. Now, there was incidents in that incident, and I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't know all the facts. From what I understand, one person was killed outright with a gun, and the gun was being held by a Capitol Police officer. Now, the circumstances of that shooting, I have no idea. I know that they say 5 Capitol Police officers were killed, and one of them was killed by a heart attack that he had a day later, and the other 4, from what I heard, committed suicide as a result of the insurrection. Now, when 4 people in the same cadre commit suicide, I always get a little suspicious of that and think that maybe they were witnesses to something and someone didn't want them to be able to talk about it. So we'll leave that there. It was a setup, and if that's everyone's idea of an insurrection, then America is weaker than I thought, much weaker. I think we could be taken over by a herd of jellyfish. I'm talking about the sponges. washing on shore could probably take over America with ease because we're weak. That's not an insurrection. I'd love to see a real insurrection. That'd be really interesting to see. The closest thing to a real insurrection I saw was in the summer of 2020. But that was not an insurrection. That was righteous anger being manifest through peaceful protest in which cities were burned down and businesses were looted and burned. So we'll leave that there. I was going to talk about how futile it is to celebrate over and over in order to somehow keep it in people's minds so that they can keep on having their subcommittees and committees and hearings until they finally reach the ultimate goal of the top person who initiated that horrible insurrection where democracy was almost lost, and get rid of him once and for all. But there won't be an election in 2024, so I don't know why they're wasting their time. But I couldn't help watching some snippets of Petri Dish's speech because he was in his glory. He was on the highest of high horses, talking about how he won fairly, and he is the guardian of democracy. He's the guardian of everything America stands for. And if it weren't for him, we would be living in a dictatorship by now. I'm paraphrasing. I didn't pay much attention. I could just see by his attitude he was gloating. And this is going to be the last anniversary of this particular episode because next year, first of all, there'll be so much chaos next year that people won't have time to think about the past incidents. And they lie constantly about everything, so we'll never get down to the bottom of anything that happened. Oh, I should add my caveat. Yes, I do not condone their behavior. They all have to say. All right. First of all, the pandemics are not going to end. I'm going to explain it from the beginning all over again so I can explain why things happen the way they happened. I've already said it. March of 2020, Alpha came through. The powers that be decided that they were going to shut down the world because they were afraid that their hospitals would be overrun. So everybody stay in their house and make sure that this virus incubates. We shut down the world for 3 months or more. We never really get it back to normal, as people notice. Nothing's back to normal, so don't even talk about that. You need a serum. That was the whole goal, is to make the serum. Make the serum to make money, yes, that's the obvious reason. Because even though they're free, somebody's paying for something and somebody's making money. They don't just make billions of vials of serum just out of the goodness of their heart. The goal was the serum. The goal was to urge everyone to take the serum. That was why they shut down in 2020. Now, there was other incidents which, whether planned or not, exacerbated an otherwise bad situation. And that resulted in riots and confusion and insurrections. But be that as it may, the serum had to be distributed to everyone on this planet. And that was not going to happen if the last, and I mean final, president was still in office. And people have said it out of their own mouths. The very highest of powerful people have said that they would not trust a serum if it was created by the last, and I mean final, president. They said it. I would assume that if somehow the last president was reelected, then there would be people in the streets protesting everything about the serum, especially if the last, and I mean final president, did the same thing that Petri dish did and start mandating it and start firing people in the federal government who didn't get it, and started mandating that nurses and doctors have the serum, and mandating that you can't fly without the serum, or other mass things that people will be very tired of by now. They'd all be in the streets, all of them, everybody, if the same thing had happened with the last, and I mean final president in office. So Petri dish had to win by hook or crook, because they needed a dupe and they needed a patsy and they needed an idiot to be their front man to promote the last, and I mean final president's serum, and urge everyone to take them and force everyone to take it. So that was the plan all along. It had to happen that way. Get the serum, then you need somebody other than the last, and I mean final president, to promote the distribution of the serum. It's so obvious. Come on. You guys can't see it? So mission accomplished. You really don't need Petri dish anymore. He's done enough pleading. And those non-people apparently are just not going to be convinced. So their fate has already been sealed. In fact, 2 or 3 days, everybody should be dispensed with, according to Petri dish. Now, here's how the pandemic will pan out, to coin a phrase. I just made that up. Pretty good. The pandemic will pan out this way. We had Delta, which was a wave, and now we have another wave of something that's even more harmless than Delta. Alpha, Delta, Omicron. Each one got, progressively weaker. And that's the way nature wanted it. You get the strong one, and then, a certain amount of the population, may suffer or die, and they always have throughout history. Second wave comes, third wave comes, herd immunity. We should have not done anything, but we did do stuff. The repercussions of that remain to be seen. But there's going to be more, because IHU is right around the corner. You guys will hear about it in a few days. I've already heard about it because I watch other news besides this, American stuff. IHU is another variant with more mutations than Omicron. And it seems to be rather transmissible and possibly a little bit, I won't say it's worse symptom-wise. I'll say that the vaccine probably won't have any effect on this particular variant, from what I've heard. So that's going to sweep through. And people are going to have a cow again and really not know what to do. And then there'll be another variant. I don't know what it is yet. And there will be Nipah. And there will be other things cropping up, because we have no control over anything right now, and it's obvious. So the pandemic will rage through 22 in some form or another. The election will be manipulated as best as possible when everyone's locked down again. And that's about it. I don't think I have much more to say on the subject, except enjoy your Insurrection Day. Go out and start a fire somewhere, or do a little looting for the holiday. Make it a family affair. It'll be commemorated for years to come, but who commemorates it, I don't know. We'll have to see if there's any real insurrectionists out there. I doubt it. I really don't see anybody doing anything about anything. So that's that. Enjoy your morning.